Anyway, as far as the major news of the weekend, we'll start with Joe Rogan and Spotify, and we'll get to the truckers and GoFundMe after that. Now, we saw last weekend the cracks were starting to form a little bit with Joe Rogan and Spotify. So recall, Joe put out a video sometime around the time that we were live, so we didn't get to talk about it on last week's stream. But Joe explained why he doesn't like this term misinformation, and he defended himself, but he did make some concession in the form of, I will do a better job at hosting more widely accepted viewpoints after I host a controversial viewpoint. And Spotify, last weekend we talked about, they said they were going to put warning labels on any episode that discusses coronavirus. They weren't going to remove content, but they do the old Susan Wiki and put a link below the material. Hey, have you seen the CDC or the WHO's info? Yeah, we've all seen it. We know. But the cracks are growing now. So Spotify stealthily deleted over 100 Joe Rogan episodes from their service over the weekend.
Who'd they get? I know they got Milo. What else?
Did they get Milo? I saw Michael Malice tweeting that 2 of his appearances, I'm not sure how many he has total, but 2 were taken down.
I think Alex Jones, maybe.
There's got to be a comprehensive list of these somewhere. The reason we know the total count, which I think as of now is 113, something like that, the deletions were not announced by Spotify. Instead, they were flagged by a website that monitors the show's episodes as they appear or don't appear on Spotify. So Spotify has not explained what policies, if any, these episodes violated, or if that's even why they took them down. Spotify hasn't even acknowledged the deletions yet that I've seen.
That's smart. So smart what they're doing.
Maybe they're just counting on people not to notice, though obviously people are gonna. There's websites designed to do exactly that. But so it is hard to say exactly what's going on here, but it is notable that the controversial interview, the mass formation psychosis interview with Robert Malone, remains up. That hasn't been taken down
well,
yet.
that would have been too obvious,
I guess. So it's hard to piece together what all these episodes have in common that would cause this. But at the same time, a video has been circulating over Twitter and other social media throughout the week, and it is a compilation edit of Joe Rogan saying the N-word dozens of times throughout his decades-long career. And I can't play that for you, but but
it's so funny.
It is widely available if you'd like to hear Joe say the N-word a bunch of times. What I can play for you is a video that Joe posted to his Instagram account yesterday morning, in which he repeatedly apologizes for saying the N-word, and he says there's no excuse for it, and he's learned his lesson that he's never, ever allowed to say this in any context ever again.
I'm making this video to talk about the most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly. Now, I know that to most people, there's no context where a white person is ever allowed to say that word. And I agree with that now. I haven't said it in years. When I would bring that word up, like if it would come up in conversation, instead of saying the N-word, I would just say the word. I thought as long as it was in context, people would understand what I was doing. It's a very unusual word, but it's not my word to use. I'm well aware of that now. I never used it to be racist because I'm not racist. But whenever you're in a situation where you have to say, I'm not racist, you fucked up. And I clearly have fucked up. I do hope that, if anything, that this can be a teachable moment. Over 12 years, I've said a lot of fucking stupid shit, which is fine when you're talking about most things, but not when you're talking about race.
What does he mean? It's fine talking about anything else but race. Also, can we just remove the term teachable moment from the lexicon? I hate it. I never want to hear this again. This was not as grovelly as I expected, but just stop apologizing. Just everybody stop apologizing. And I hate this thing of like, if you have to defend yourself from being racist, then you might be a racist. Who cares? Who gives a shit if you're racist? Who cares? Stop defending yourself.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're willing to give it any credit. What are the
My
expectations
were so different. Well, I don't even know. I mean, I appreciate that he talked about the context in which he said these things, which I think is clearly relevant. But he didn't go after the people that are trying to cancel him, which are clearly bringing this up for the purpose of achieving their goals. I mean,
just
why
a
else
weapon.
would they be doing this right
Yeah,
now?
it's just
this
a
is
weapon.
just a weapon. Yeah, and you know, by apologizing, you just seemed weak to people. And then at the end, he did say like, "I'm truly sorry from the bottom of my heart," or whatever.
Yeah, multiple times. My most sincere apologies. I had to cut for time, but he also apologized for once telling a story about going to see the Planet of the Apes movie in a black neighborhood.
Oh, so funny.
And
So
inadvertently implying that, or he said it was like I was in Africa, I think is what he said, something like that.
Yeah.
You can listen to it.
No, he said it's like I was in Africa and like we were in Planet of the Apes.
So he apologized for that too. So I don't want to be too harsh on Joe, because on the principle of all the censorship effort here, I'm with Joe 100%, obviously. So in general, I would say Joe Rogan did nothing wrong except apologize.
Apologizing. Yeah.
And you could see that during Joe's last video about misinformation last weekend, it was evident that Joe either doesn't understand these people or he's pretending that he doesn't understand them. And I think the same is true in this case. These people are not going to accept having other viewpoints on the show as any sort of appeasement. They're not going to accept that you've learned a lesson from your teachable moment and move on because that was their end goal. They want you banned. Yeah. If they could, they'd probably have you dead if there were no intervening factors. So these are both just weapons to try to destroy you, you being Joe. And more of these weapons are coming. So the more you kneel to these people, the more they're going to try to destroy you. So aside from the entire concept of apologizing, I hate all the individual points too.
Yeah.
To your point, it's okay to say weird bullshit about any topic but race.
Why? Why?
What makes it a special topic that can't be talked about?
He's
with
just
the
appeasing the counter or the cancel culture that has come after him and made himself appear weak. And now they're just going to seize on the opportunity. He's screwed. He's going to get kicked off Spotify or something's going to happen.
This is a move in that direction. It does make me nervous. So yeah, why is it a special topic that's immune from the same curiosity, honesty, and yes, wrongness? Why can we talk about other things and be flat out wrong, but not morally culpable? Mm-hmm. Yet if you do it in this case, suddenly you're a moral failure who has to apologize to all the world's people who pretend to be offended and hurt, as though anybody was actually hurt by the things that Joe Rogan said. Okay. Number two, he's not sorry. There is no way he learned some profound lesson about race this last week by watching a montage of himself say the N-word.
Yeah.
He is not sorry. I don't buy that as a sincere point. You are trying to appease the mob. I understand you're under unjust attack from the mob, and I'm sympathetic with that. But you have not learned some new lesson. You feel exactly the same way you did last Sunday at this time. The only thing that's changed is they've come after you more aggressively. We talked about this point. If someone says, if you have to say that I'm not racist, well, then you've really fucked up. So if you're ever in a situation, if someone calls you racist, that is evidence of your guilt.
Yeah. That's preposterous.
The logic there is you guys get to tell me what to do. If you accuse me, I'm guilty. I must do what you say. No, you built the show into a wild success, not them. Do what you say because it's clearly successful. Never do what they say because they're miserable people who've never built anything. They only know how to destroy. Mm-hmm. And so again, I want to emphasize, I can sympathize with Joe on the ridiculousness of the attack. It sucks to be the target of the mob. In fact, I'm a little bit jealous because he's the king of the hit pieces right now, and I can't get one. So congratulations, Joe. I don't want to be too critical. But I think you're right that the apology is really the first step toward cancellation. Because now that you've granted that they have a point, you've granted the premise for punishment.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's what makes me really worried.
It doesn't dissuade anybody anyway. You're just admitting fault.
I would hope that people who love Joe's show would become hardened in their support by this. There's nobody who hated Joe who is going to be motivated to hate him anymore by this. It doesn't matter. The other benefit, there are montages of lots of people saying the N-word circulating Twitter in the last week, including, have you seen the Young Turks montage?
Really?
My God, a lot of N-words have come out of that show. Frankly, at this point, we have to catch up. You know, you worry like, oh man, I think there was like 3 or 4 times. Anna has said it at least a dozen times. You can go watch it.
Has she? In what context?
Well, in fairness to them. But as Joe's saying, and they agree with, the context doesn't matter. There's no context in which you can say it. They used to have a segment in which they would ridicule or criticize racists. And so people who used the slur, they would just say the slur.
So I can't say Joe Rogan said nigger.
Whoa. No. I don't have a dump button.
I mean, what am I supposed to do here?
You're quoting
people
Joe.
that have gone on the internet have already ruined their lives, and everybody has said something that they regret. The key is when people bring up stuff that you've said that you regret, say, I apologize for nothing. I apologize for nothing. Can one person do that? Can one person just say,
dream of the day?
Well, I mean, even if you regret what you say, still don't apologize. My viewpoints have changed. I regret nothing. I'm not sorry. Yeah, I said some stuff.
He's never even talking about a specific person. It's like, to whom are you even apologizing? I'm sorry, if you're so fragile that you just hear the utterance of the N-word, not even directed at you in any way, and it breaks you, you got to grow up. The world's much tougher than that. I'm sorry. You're going to have to.
Well, nobody actually feels that way.
Exactly. It's just a weapon.
It's just a weapon. Yeah.
But yeah, I was very.
Black people always talking about white fragility, but like the utterance of a word will just decimate their self-esteem. Supposedly, the whole concept is preposterous.
I don't have a demographic breakdown here, but most of the people I've seen anecdotally who are offended about this are your typical white Twitter blue checks. It is not. It doesn't strike me as a mob of color that's actually mad about this. It is a bunch of white people picking up the sword for their oppressed racial allies.
Well, we all knew this was coming with Joe Rogan. I mean,
surprised it took this long.
Yeah. The question is, like, what is Spotify going to do now? They're going to have to file for bankruptcy. Didn't Tim Pool dive into this a little bit? And like, without Joe Rogan, they're going to be screwed. They'll still have to pay out his contract, I think.
Like, I'm not trusting any big tech company on matters of principle, but just on the contractual issue, I thought there's no way they're backing off this because $100 million, just too big of an investment to cut loose or to potentially pay a guy to go away. Now, though, I'm wondering if they might actually do it or if they might chip away enough at Joe, deleting enough of his episodes or something like that he just gets pissed and there's some kind of conflict between the two that ends up costing them. That would be
awesome if Joe Rogan got to get out of his Spotify contract, come back to YouTube or start another platform. He can go on Rumble or whatever. People will follow him faithfully.
Oh, they will.
And then come out of it with the value of his contract. He would be in such great shape.
He is bigger than Spotify. Yeah, he can go wherever he wants. But this obviously continues to unfold. So we will keep an eye on it. And surely, I'm sure we'll have more to say about it